Welcome to my Golf Fantasy Podcast, your home for fantasy golf, DFS plays, betting angles, and weekly news. I'm your host, Ryan Owen, with my co host, Wendell Vi, and we got a lot to break down today, including some big news leading into the weekend, our biggest plays that we're expecting for DFS picks, and some of the best players to be watching for this week. So, first, let's talk about the biggest news of the week. I mean, everybody's talking about it. It's Brooks Koepka applying for his reinstatement back to the PGA Tour.
Brooks, how do you feel about this, Ryan? I mean, it's some big news. I think that he's got a long way to go to be competitive here in the PGA. But what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, he's been playing 54-hole golf for the last 4 years. I mean, minus the majors. He's going back to 72. Is that a big thing for him? I don't know. But also, his performance in 2025 makes me believe that he is really not prepared to be back in the PGA Tour this season.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, I mean, it seems like he's kind of been taking the might be like the Tiger route where he's just hey, let's play in the majors, let's play in an event before the majors, and see if we can kind of rope something together at the right time, right place, and when everything kind of comes in line. Because all he cares about is majors, right? I mean, he's not really. I don't think he's in it for the individual events at all.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I think the thing is too is he had Live to prepare for the major tournaments, right? So because he's really not eligible to come back until August, what is he going to do from now until then to start preparing for some of these majors, right? Because the majors aren't happening for a while. He's got a couple options: the DP Tour. He can join the TGL for the next few months, or they can grant him reinstatement early, which I don't think so. I don't see this coming, but it is possible. And I believe there's like Tiger and Adam Scott and Patrick Cantlay are on that board to like whether they want to vote him back in. I know Rory's been a little bit vocal about saying, yeah, just let him back. I think the PGA needs to make a statement here and saying, no, you can't just go to Live, hang out there, make your money, and then come back and you'll be reinstated right away. They set those rules up for a reason, right?
Yeah, you got to draw the line somewhere. I agree. I think he's great for the PGA, though. I mean, obviously, he's got a huge following. Whether you like the guy or don't, there's a lot of people that are like, wanting to see him play, and it's going to hurt the Live a lot. I think losing him, like he's one of the best players on that tour, and obviously it seems like they're making strides to go to to be more PGA like, changing their format and stuff like that, which should be interesting as well. But my 2 cents, I think Brooks is a talent, so I think he's going to figure it out. I know he went through some injuries over the last couple of years. I think that even if he's, goes plays in the DP tour, World Tour for, tournaments leading up to majors, still is able to kind of go in there and compete. Obviously, we saw some great showings over the last 2 years while he was at Live and, in the Masters and the US Open and, all this stuff. He's had some poor showings too, but I think there's a lot more than just, is he playing 72 holes every week, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and to me, I actually think it's a little irrelevant. I don't think he's actually going to compete that much on the PGA Tour after his last season. Yeah, I know the injuries and stuff like that. I think when they do let him in, and even the majors that he's going to be in this year, I think you'll see that, he'll miss a cut or two. And I don't know if he's going to be a top 10 player on the PGA Tour now. He's getting older, I think 35 now. Listen, he could surprise us. He could surprise me and, put up a good performance. I'm not seeing it. I'm really thinking as this being a little more irrelevant, but most importantly, a good message for the Live guys to know if I'm coming back to the tour, what am I dealing with? Because he's the example, right? That's it.
100%. Well, and I think the other reason the PGA could potentially want to let him back in is it hurts the Live more than anything, right? I mean, like if they let him back, I mean that's a huge name out of their roster that they're missing. They're not going to be able to replace him with just anybody. So it'll be interesting to see. I know. When it comes to the contract side of things with this too, it seems like there's still not a lot of information out there, but sounds like it's kind of a mutually agreed decision on both parties for them to part ways. He's not going to really have any implications other than kind of any future money he might have made there that he's going to lose. When it comes to everything that he's had so far, I don't think he's had to pay anything back from what I've been reading. But it should be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I agree. And you brought up a good point. The interesting thing is if they let him back quickly, does that send a message to those live guys like, hey, come back, don't renew your contract, sign new contracts, you'll be let back in right away, and kind of maybe like dilute the talent and live? Oh, is that possible? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I think that actually might be an interesting play now that you bring it up.
From a business decision, yeah, it could be a good business play for them here. But yeah, we'll see, we'll see. Anyway, enough about Brooks. Let's talk a little bit about this tournament coming up.
Yeah, I'm excited. Finally, the PGA Tour is back this season. Sony Open this weekend, playing at the same place it's been played at for the last, I think, like 50 something years. This is one of the mainstays on the PGA Tour,
Can you
which
pronounce
makes,
it?
yeah, I'm not pronouncing that. Did you get the name right?
No, no.
Exactly.
What? Way out. That's gonna be my.
That's why it's always going to be the Sony Open to me. That's it. Sony can't pull out of sponsorship here because that's all I'm calling it, the Sony Open. So interesting course, par 70, just over 7,000 yards, only two par fives. It makes it a little bit different than the par 72s that they normally play. But a lot of guys are returning here, which I think is a lot easier for us when we get later in the show, talk about our picks. We can see the history of some of these guys playing a lot of rounds here. And early in the season, this is very common, always the first stop on the tour. So yeah, I think it's an interesting course, and I like it. Do you want to talk about the setup that
Yeah,
you enjoy about it?
yeah, yeah. It's an interesting one, and actually a really exciting one for fans who like to see guys go low. I mean, this is one of the lowest scoring events on the tour, and it's obviously one of the first events. So it's really interesting. Guys, obviously getting their game into top shape here, and are able to come into this course and um, literally tear it apart. I mean, it's a course that really does favor accuracy off the tee. I mean, majority of the winners here in previous years have been guys who have, yes, played a few rounds here in the past, but also have kind of ranked in the top, the top 50 or so in kind of fairways hit, strokes gained on approach. They've been some of the key contributors here, some of the guys who've been in the top in that category as well. And then tee to green performance, quality ball striking here outperforms sheer distance. So those guys who like to bomb it and spray it, they're not going to be as in good as spots as some of those guys who maybe but don't rank as high on driving distance, but their accuracy is and putting is where they've been successful in the past. So there could be a quite an interesting group of guys here playing, and it'll be interesting to see who kind of comes to the top here. But I got a few players in mind. Anything you want to share on the core stats side of things?
No, I agree. You know what? I'm kind of tired of a lot of these courses just getting longer and longer. I enjoy watching real golf, not just guys pumping it down the fairway 300 plus yards and then having 100 and something shots in. So I'm actually looking forward to this. Go ahead with your guys. I got a couple in mind that I really like this week.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, well, I mean, we can talk about the previous winner, Nick Taylor. Obviously, he's got to be a favorite coming in here, defending champ. He knows the course. He's a guy who's top 25 and fairways hit percentage, top 30% in strokes gained on approach. I think for me, he's got to be one of the guys that everyone's kind of got on their list here of guys who could win this thing. And outside of that, I mean, I like Hideki. He's won here in the past. He's often a really good ball striker, top 20 in par four scoring. It does rank outside the top 100 in fairway hit percentage, but he makes up for it in a lot of ways. And I'll throw a dark horse at you here as well. I'll give you Patrick Fishburne. A lot of guys that maybe aren't on people's radar, but he actually shared the lead here mid tournament last year with somebody who really kind of showed a lot of people he can kind of compete in these types of events where you got to go low. So those would be the three that I'd kind of throw out to you here.
Yeah, I love that you said Patrick Fishburne, considering that he's not yet in. So you need to do some research before you start naming off players. He is on the alternate list. He is actually number two if two people drop out. So he's right there. So yeah, I
He's
do
the ultimate dark horse. He's the ultimate dark horse.
is that what you're considering a guy who's not even in a tournament as a dark horse? Then I'm on board with that. Yeah. No, you know what? I respect though too. You picked former champions, so it makes total sense for your first couple of things that you mentioned there. To me, Russ Henley, definitely a guy I'm looking at. Hits really a lot of these major categories for players who play well. Top 10 in fairways hit. He greened strokes great, gained on approach, very, very good. He's also, I think, averaged a score of -17 in the most recent tournaments. So really, someone I think, and his game is great at the moment. So I'm looking at him to be, one of the favorites going in. I think he actually is listed as the favorite or second favorite going to this tournament. So something to watch for. JJ Spawn, also a very interesting one for me. He finished, I think, top 3 last year, and then 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, sorry, I think he had a 12th place finish in this tournament as well. He's only actually played this tournament the last 3 years, and his core stats, I think, in the players that are playing this week, he's top 5 on strokes gained on approach, which is one of the key stats we have. So looking for him. My dark horse that I think is very interesting, someone who hasn't played really well at this course yet, but I really like his game, is Rico Hoey. I think he has great stats for this course. Strokes gained on approach, tops, greens and rake, par 4 scoring, which there's, I think 12 par 4s on this course. So definitely somebody I think who can perform here. He finished tied for 9th last year. Someone I think that, you got to keep an eye on. I may not be betting money on him, but definitely somebody I think who can land in the top 20 and, surprise some people with a good showing. For me, that's the guy I think, that's actually in the tournament. I didn't know we were going people outside the tournament, but actually playing, I think he's the guy that we want to watch for.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. I'm surprised. Did you bring up Danny McCarthy? Is it one of your guys already?
So I didn't, but I know we both liked him. Solid player for this tournament. Was top 10, I think, in par 4 scoring. Of the guys playing in this tournament. Solid player. You want to talk about him?
Yeah, I mean, like I like him in a lot of places. Actually, maybe what we'll do is save him for our DFS plays here, because he's one of the guys that I do really like. When it comes to price point and a few other things that we'll talk about. But this that'll be something that maybe we share here in a second. Maybe maybe what we could do is discuss kind of our feature segment here, the My Golf Guy segment. Maybe I'll let you kind of, since you let me start with a few of the guys who we like to see perform well. Maybe I'll let you kick it off with My Golf Guy.
Yeah. So my golf guy this week is Nico Echeverria. Echeverria. I got it right. Okay. So something about him. Did I get it? Did I say it right? You
I,
made fun of
I
me
think you're
about the
close.
course name.
Well, I mean, I didn't. I butchered the course name as well, so I've got no legs to stand on there. But your guess is as good as mine and his last name.
So, guy here, he finished second last year. Okay, I believe in the tournament. Finished top 10, I think 2 years before that. Has great stats for this course. To me, I think he's a guy that can finish top 5. Yeah, he's already proven it last year. Got number 2. So I think he's definitely a guy that if I'm picking somebody to put some money on, that's not top 10, or even top 5 in odds. Nico's the guy I'm putting my money on. I like him a lot. I think he can get in the top 10 again, no problem. What do you think for my golf guy? Who do you got?
That's you went off the board a little bit, and I like it. He is Nico seems like a great play there. I got a guy who he might be closer to that top 10 than we'd like to cover here, but I want to roll it back with another Canadian boy. I'm going with Corey Connors here this week. He's typically in the top 25 in stroke trained off the tee and approach play throughout year after year on the tour. He's super consistent. He struggles a little bit stroke gain putting, 67th last year. And, around the greens, he's even worse at 146. But I really think when it comes to this course, if you can get it in the fairway, you can get it in play and, you can hit some greens, you're gonna score well given the distance. And so I think this really suits Corey's game really well. If the putter can get hot, I think he's going to be a guy that you're going to see, in contention late here. So that's my golf guy here this week.
Yeah, great pick. I like Corey too. I'm worried about his last year's performance and not playing so well, but
You notice
otherwise
I
I
left that
agree.
out. You notice I left that out of my.
All right, well, let's move into our DFS picks for this week. We're gonna use DraftKings as our standard for how we're gonna pick our DFS picks. 6 guys from the DraftKings lineup. We're going to show them to you guys so that way you guys can see who we're picking. We're going to follow it up every week. You're going to see who we're picking, how well we do. And we're going to have some friendly competition between Wendell and I. I know I'm going to kick his butt during a lot of these things because I'm just better at this than he is. But
You
but
guys
don't
haven't seen
disrespect
his
picks.
rec. You guys haven't seen his record in other fantasy sports we play against each other. It's not too good. We won't bring that up, but
Listen,
yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
the only thing that's going to matter is what the people can see, and they're gonna see that this is the proof that I'm gonna just kick your ass and all this stuff.
I
Yeah.
look forward to the challenge, my friend. I look forward to the challenge. So how do you want to do this? You want to go one for one? You want to, I'll share one, you share one type deal, or do you want to go full
Let me do
teams?
the lineup. Let me do my
Okay.
lineup, and let's see. Well, let's see who we got. Maybe the same when you get your lineup done, and we'll go that way because I got some explaining to do in some of these picks. So I don't want you to cut me off. You know what? If you're gonna cut me off, I know you're just gonna trash my picks anyways. So feel free whenever you feel like it. All right.
All right. Sounds good. Let's roll.
My strategy first, just quickly, is I'm gonna take a top guy, but I'm not going to take two top guys. I don't want to dilute lower down, in getting too far into the 6,000 picks, $6,000 picks on DraftKings. So I'm gonna go one heavy hitter. To me, that's Russ Henley. We talked about him in the previous segment. Uh, he's my number one guy. Hitting over $10,000 on DraftKings. So Russ is going to be my number one guy. Then I'm going to move to tier two. I already talked about Russ and his stats, very good stats. My tier two is someone who you talked about, was Nick Taylor, defending champion. Comes in at 9,000. And give me a defending champion at 9,000, top 10 the last 3 years at this event. Sign me up every time for this. To me, this is a lock for my lineup. He's making the cut. Sign me up. I'm in. Nick Taylor's definitely my
Well,
guy there.
let's talk about that for a second. Who are some other guys up there that you could have taken instead of Nick Taylor at that price point? That might have been interesting.
Yeah, so you know what I saw? Harry Hall's being talked about a lot here. He's at the 9,100. I get it. Not so much uh experience on this course, so I kind of left him off. Also his stats don't really hit well here. Not a big fan of him.
What about JJ Spawn?
Spawn, yeah. So Spawn was my next guy. He's at the 95, right? And so if you see my lineup a little bit later, you'll see, why I kind of structure this way. Spawn was on the list 2 years ago. I think tied for 66th. So kind of fell off. If I'm going to take Spawn or Nick Taylor, right? Nick Taylor, top 10 last 3 years, made the cut the last 5 years, played a ton of rounds here. If you look at their stats, they're comparable as an overall stats for this course. And that's essentially, you're right. That's what I got to do, right? I'm picking between, if I can't take both of them, because if I do that, then I got no money left. Spawn's possible, so I could have touched him. But Taylor's if I have to pick between the two, sign me up for Nick Taylor. And even if you go the other way, let's say you drop Henley and pick up Spawn, you could do that as well, save some money. But again, if I'm picking between the two, I think Henley's my guy as well.
Yeah, and Nick Taylor's $500 cheaper than Spawn too, and you got a defending champ guy who's been successful here year after year. I mean, like you said, I
Yeah,
think that's a no brainer between the two of those guys if you're going back and forth with which one you want.
absolutely. Yeah, that's where I'm lying with that. So moving down the board, Brian Harman is going to be my next pick, sitting at about 8,000. So Harman's interesting. His course stats necessarily aren't spectacular for this course, but the interesting thing about Brian Harman is each of the last 4 years, he's gotten better and better at this course. Tied for 56, tied for 48, tied for 32, tied for 18, and then tied for 21. So about the same performance last 2 years. He's made the cut 5 years in a row, played over 50 rounds at this course. If I'm looking for a guy to make the cut and try to make the top 20, I'm taking him at 8,000, right? This guy plays this course consistently, really like affordable range at 8,000. And I gotta pick a couple guys in this slot. So definitely signing me up for Brian Harman for sure.
Yeah, I like Brian Harmon.
And
I think he's a consistent
yeah,
golfer. He's in the right price point there for you. That makes a lot of sense.
so it's very simple. My next pick is my golf guy. Can't pick a my golf guy, not put him in my lineup. So Nico Echeverria, let's just call him Nico. Nico's my boy. Comes in at 7,900. I talked about him earlier. Great results, great stats for this course. And he's sitting at 7,900. I'm taking him, no problem. I think he's making the cut easy. And again, another, I think top 20, top 10 performer. I think he can do it. Tied for second last year. Definitely in on him. Next pick, you can't argue with this one. This is Denny McCarthy. We both talked about him. We both like him. Good performances here in the past, and his game actually is well rounded for this as well. Kind of a bit like Brian Harman too. Good performance, decent game, and coming in at, again, I think is 7,900. So definitely something good there. Solid pick for me. And it leaves me a bit of room, so I couldn't go too high. I couldn't get the high 8,000s on some of these guys, because if I got there, then my next pick would have to be low sixes, and I don't want to take a low six as
Mm.
my last guy in my DFS. What that left me with was just about 7,000, I think 6,900. So I started searching, right? So last pick I'm searching. I'm like, who's this guy under 7K that can put up a performance for me? And I think that was very simple for me. There's one guy in this price range that has had good performances at this course over the past few years, and it's Stevenson. Stevenson, he's finished tied for 30th each of the last 2 years, tied for 41 the year before, and tied for 7th the previous year. Okay. This guy, again, if I'm taking a $6,700 player off DraftKings and he's making the cut, sign me up. Like, this is something that, like,
Yeah.
if I can take some high end players and drop to a 6,700 and get a guy that's going to make the cut and potentially finish top 30 for that price range, that's
Yeah,
my
you want a guy that's going to get you points on the weekend, and he's the guy that's going to give you the best probability of doing that for sure,
yeah,
based
that
off his
price
performance,
range.
right?
Yeah, I got to do it. So, anyways,
Yeah,
that's my
that's,
6 picks.
you know,
I love the shot. I love the
I wish I had more, but honestly, you put some thought into those. They actually were a little bit better than I anticipated. Some guys, a few of them on there that I weren't really on my radar, but I can definitely see why you justified picking them. So no, they're good. They're good. I'll jump into mine. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit more controversy because unlike Ryan's a big stats guy. He's deeper in the stats. I'm a mix of that and gut feel, and so some of my picks are going to reflect that here, which I'm sure you're going to have some stuff to say. So. Um, Starting off, I guess my strategy really going into these DFS lineups is, I've got two. I never want to complete my bankroll in it, so I never want to have a zero. I never want there to be zero. I always want there to be change left over, and the reason I do that is because I think a lot of amateur players, you being one of them, typically look to, let's maximize, spend every dollar we have, but that makes it, a lot of people have the same mindset. So you're going to end up being in a situation where a lot of people are going to have similar lineups to you. So I always try to be a little bit more contrarian in that approach and have, could be a couple hundred, could be 500,000. That kind of reduces your ability a little bit and some of the picks you're able to make. This one, I've still had, I think, $200 left. My first pick, so I went two previous champions. First was Hideki Matsuyama at 8,600, one here in 2022. I mean, the guy's a ball striking savant, sets him up well to make another run here this year. He's top 20 in strokes gained approach, top 20 in par four scoring. Obviously, as I mentioned before, he ranks a little bit outside of fairways hit percentage, but still, he's his approach shots and stuff are really some of the best going. So took Hideki as my first there. Go back to back with another champ, Nick Taylor, defending champion at 9,000. Like you said, I mean, this guy just consistently is a performer here at this event. He's always ready to go. It's always an event that he's seems like he's geared up and able to make a strong play through the weekend at. So Nick Taylor is my second.
So
I want
you the interesting things, right? So, you saved a little money from my Henley to Matsuyama pick, I think about $600. So this should leave you with a little bit more. You might not have to go down to a Stevenson type pick later on,
exactly.
right?
I kind of balanced it out a little bit more by not going, super high there at the start with some of those guys in the higher range. So tried to get guys who I thought were, had a lot of value. And Nick Taylor at 9,000, I thought this guy should be, I thought that was a steal. So same with Hideki. I thought he was a steal. And then I'll go with another Canadian boy, Corey Connors at 8,600.
Yeah.
Just again, as I mentioned before, I mean, this guy, he's top 25 in a lot of different categories. If he putts well this week, he should be there. So
Well,
he was,
you have to put my golf guy in there, right?
Of course, and he's my golf guy. So like he's at 8,600. I think he's a steal. And so we kind of got like you kind of see in my strategy here. I went 9,000, 8,600, 8,600. Then I kind of like to normally around the fourth guy. I like to go off like if I'm going to take a guy who's a little bit lower, I like to do it now because it then allows me to go back and kind of look at instead of being like this is all the money I got left. I take the guy who I think might be a long shot to win, and then I go back and start reassessing some of the other guys and piece together like the final couple in my lineup. So I went with a guy that is going to be super controversial, but Tony Finau at 7,100. Obviously, he's had some. I can see by your face you don't love it. Let me kind of. I'll let me go through this, and I'll let
Please.
you say your 2 cents. This is a gut feel play. This is purely that. If you're looking at statistics, Tony is not the guy to play here. If you look at his previous events last year that he played, over the last couple, I mean, Tony's either a guy who's gonna probably lose the tournament on the last hole and come second, or he's not even gonna make the cut and he might not even finish the tournament. That's basically the two different Tonys are getting. You're not getting a guy who's gonna just make the cut and come 40th. He's either coming top 10 or getting DQ'd. So I mean, Tony is a gut feel. I like him when he's on. Usually he's in like a very good place when it comes to strokes getting off the tee around the green. Putting is always his issue, though, regardless if he's on. So that's he's a wild card.
Funny thing about Finau is everything you said about Finau is the same thing I thought, and it's exactly the same reason why I didn't pick him, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you went the safe play, Stevenson. I get it. And I kind of went like win or bust. Like was a Tony Finau play with me. He's either going to win me this lineup this week and a lot of money, or he's going to lose me the whole thing. So we'll see how it plays out. Next on my lineup here, 7,600. A lot of people like I feel like he flies under the radar. Like a lot of people don't realize he was top five on the tour last year in strokes gained off the tee. For majority of the season, he was top two. So like he's a guy that really can hit the ball and play. He's going to put himself in position to score. He just can't get the putter figured out most tournaments. He's a guy that barely cracks the top 100 in strokes gained putting, but strokes gained approach, top 35 guy. So like if he can put it all together and make a few putts, I think at 7,600 he's going to be a really good play. And then the guy that we both have all over the place, Danny McCarthy. He was your dark horse, or not your dark horse, but he was in contention for that on our list there. And really, I mean, the guy led the tournament halfway through last year. I mean, he showed he can do it. Just struggles off the tee a bit. If he can figure that out this week, I think he's going to be there. So that's who we got here, rounding out my top six. I think I'm going to beat you this week if Tony plays well, but we'll see how it goes.
You know what? I think this is going to be a very easy season for me if you start on this Tony Finau. I'm going to pick a guy that probably shouldn't perform well here and does. Then, I think I'm going to get a couple week wins off of you. Other than the Finau pick, I see it. You know what? I hope next week you shut me up. I doubt it's going to happen because I'm definitely going to be hitting up on this pick next week, letting you know how great he did. But good lineup.
If all goes wrong and I don't beat you at much this year, I'll have to fly down to Montreal, at least beat you on the course. So we'll be able to take it out on the course if it has to come to that. But yeah, no, like I said, I mean, you're pure stats numbers. Looking at some of the stuff, I am majority of it, but I like to throw out a gut feel play there. And a bet like Tony, you never know. This could be the year, right? This could be the year he
Yeah.
starts. Maybe he'll win a major or two. You never know. You never know.
Oh, let's chill out now. We got a couple months before we start talking about majors, all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, great lineup. That's what we have. Leave some comments, guys, if you want to hit up our picks. Tell us that if Finau is a great pick or not. You guys can contribute. Let us know what you think. Next week we'll talk about our lineups. See how well we did. One more thing we're gonna do. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Ryan, let the folks know where else they can find us, right? I mean,
Yeah.
sure, we're talking about our podcast here, but guys, you're gonna be able to find content across YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. You got some of those handles that we can put up here, or any of
Yeah,
the?
we'll show them. We'll show them up for everybody so that we can follow us on social media. We're gonna have some fun things going on, also including our picks for DFS. And one thing we're also gonna do is share PGA Tour Fantasy Golf. We're gonna share our picks for that as well. We're not gonna talk too much about them, who we pick here. It's a little bit, we'll call it easier without a salary cap. Pick anybody you want type thing. So we'll share those with you. So that way you guys can follow us. You guys can join PGA Tour Fantasy Golf and compete against us. So if you think how bad our picks might be, see how much better you are compared to us.
Yeah, there's
And
some
good
great
luck.
prizes you can win on that too, from what I heard. So I mean,
Yeah,
who
read up on them.
knows?
I think it's trip to the players, stuff like that. So definitely join. We're not sponsored by them. This is just us having fun, some fun
Although
things
we'd
to
like to
do.
be.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Huh? Well, it's a good shout out. I'll send them the podcast link. They can watch us for the get the ad up.
So good stuff.
But yeah, that's what we got for you guys this week. We're gonna do it again next week. Thank you for joining my golf fantasy podcast. Good luck with your lineups. Good luck with your bets, and we'll catch up next week. Talk about the next week's tournament and how good or bad some of our picks might have been.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Take care.